Have you ever heard a song that's just blowing up online? It's about a truck driver who pulls himself up from poverty, and it sounds like the super simple, inspiring story of hard work. But what if I told you that behind this one track is a whole world of alleged cartel ties, government sanctions, and a cultural movement that completely blurs the line between art and crime? Today, we're going to deconstruct El Snoopy Perez.
So, the song is called El Snoopy Perez, and it opens with this incredibly raw line. Yo sé lo que es trabajar. Yo sé lo que es batallar. That means, I know what it's like to work. I know what it's like to struggle. And that line, it just hits you, right? It speaks to this universal feeling, the fight to just get ahead in life.
And that struggle, it belongs to a guy named Snoopy Perez, or José Martínez, which is his real name. You see, the song is basically a modern ballad, what's known as a corrido, that's telling his personal story from his point of view.
So the lyrics, they lay out this classic rags to riches story. Snoopy says he comes from the very bottom, doing hard manual labor with a shovel and a pick. He even talks about being behind bars at one point. But through just pure determination, he builds himself up and now owns his own trucking company. He's not some celebrity, he's a normal guy who, after all that struggle, is finally a little bit happier. I mean, who doesn't love an underdog story? You can totally see why people connect with it. It's an amazing story of resilience, and you get why it resonates with so many people. But right here, this is where this feel-good story just takes a hard left turn. Because to really understand what's going on, you have to ask a different question. Who's the artist who actually made this song? The artist's name is El Makabelico. And yeah, this is where things get really complicated. So on the one hand, you've got Snoopy's song about honorable hard work. But on the other hand, another source describes the artist, El Makabelico, in, well, completely different terms, saying, quote, he is a criminal. He is a terrorist. I mean, that is a shocking and incredibly direct accusation. And we're not talking about some vague accusation here. The specific claim is that El Makabelico is involved with the Cartel Del Noreste. Now, that's a notoriously violent splinter group from the Los Zetas cartel, which this source flat out calls a terrorist organization. So this isn't just about his lyrics. This is a direct criminal allegation. So that's the big question, right? How does that even work? How can the same artist be behind these two totally opposite stories? A song about an honorable working guy and an alleged connection to a violent cartel. To even begin to understand this, we've got to zoom out. To wrap our heads around this, we have to look at the bigger picture, the world this music comes from, which is often called narco-culture. Now, this is more than just crime. It's an entire cultural movement in Mexico that's built around glorifying the drug trafficker lifestyle. We're talking the violence, the crazy luxury, the power. And it's all expressed through music, the way people dress, and even the language they use. For some people, it's a kind of rebellion in places where there just aren't a lot of other opportunities. Okay, so the style of music at the center of all this is the corrido. It started out as this traditional Mexican folk ballad, a way to tell stories. But over the years, it evolved into what's called narco-corridos, ballads specifically about drug traffickers. And now you've got artists like El Makabelico who are mixing that tradition with rap and urban sounds, taking what used to be a regional thing and pushing it out into the global mainstream. And look, the stuff they sing about, it's not subtle. You've got the glorification of flashy cars and designer clothes, super graphic depictions of violence, a huge emphasis on loyalty to the criminal organization, and even direct references to drug trafficking, including things like fentanyl. So let's just lay it all out, side by side. You have the inspiring story of Snoopy Perez, a tale of redemption, hard work, and making it. And then you have the denouncement of the artist who created it, El Makabelico, an alleged terrorist who makes music that glorifies a criminal life. These two completely opposite narratives are coming from the exact same source.
But, this isn't just some abstract cultural debate. This music is big business. It sits right at the very messy intersection of culture and commerce.
So how much money are we talking? Get this. According to one source, the El Snoopy Perez track cost an estimated $15,000 to commission. This wasn't just a passion project. It was a serious business deal. And, well, when you've got that kind of cash floating around in a world connected to alleged criminal groups, you can bet that business has some very, very real consequences. And we're not talking hypotheticals here. These consequences are happening right now. Artists like El Makabelico are actually being sanctioned by governments for their alleged ties to cartels. Music executives have literally been sent to prison for doing business with them. And what's wild is that
Even with all this legal pressure, the genre just keeps getting more and more popular, pushing its way further into the global mainstream. So after all that, we're left with this really tough, kind of blurry question. When a song can be a source of inspiration for so many, but also a product of alleged crime, when a story of redemption is told by someone who's been called a terrorist, it really makes you wonder, where does the art end and where does reality begin?